One of the most popular topics in the oil field right now is hydraulic fracturing or fracking. Hydraulic fracturing is the process that enhances the production of a well by pumping a fluid mixture at high pressure and high rate down to the target formation of the well. A lot of people ask, if this is such a great thing, why haven't we been doing this for decades? It's all about technology. Hydraulic fracturing stems from new technology. And a lot of people think that new technology has to do with electronics or computers, but it doesn't. New technology is just new knowledge that can be applied to create something new. And that's what is happening with hydraulic fracturing. We're better understanding the rock mechanics of our target formations in order to better understand how we can interact with that formation. Here in the Permian Basin, our formations are 9,000 to 11,000 feet deep. That means we can't just easily go dig up some rocks, do some experiments on them. As we better understand these rock mechanics, we get hydraulic fracturing, and we can improve hydraulic fracturing. Hydraulic fracturing is just simply what the name says. We're hydraulically creating a fracture in the formation. And what this does is the fracture increases the effective radius of the well. It lets oil migrate to the wellbore in a faster, more efficient manner. My favorite analogy for explaining a fracture in hydraulic fracturing is the commuter analogy. There's a guy or gal that lives on one side of town and works on the other. And they have to drive through neighborhoods to get from home to work every morning. They have to go through stoplight, right turns, left turns, stoplights. It takes them forever. Now, let's say that there's a state highway, even a 2-lane state highway built in the town that they live in. Now, that commuter can simply drive a short distance to the state highway, shoot across town, get off, drive a short distance, and they're at work much quicker. It might take them a longer distance to get there, but it takes them a shorter time. And that's what hydraulic fracturing does. It allows oil to migrate to a fracture where it is difficult and slow to migrate, and then shoot to the wellbore efficiently and quickly, and allows enhanced production. It allows production of oil in days, weeks, and years that we may not have been able to produce for years or decades, or if ever. Sometimes the migration period of some of the oil we can produce now would have extended the life of the well. We never would have been able to produce it. But for you experts, you know that there's a lot more to hydraulic fracturing than just that. If you've been around the oil field, you know that hydraulic fracturing is very technical. Now, the rock mechanics of the formation show that there are 3 stresses: a vertical stress, overburden stress is what we call it, and 2 horizontal stresses, a minimum and maximum. Okay, and those 3 stresses dictate how and where a fracture propagates. Now, the fracture always propagates perpendicular to the least horizontal stress. That's because as the fluid gets into the perforation, we all know what perforations are, as the fluid gets into that perforation, it acts in 360 degrees on the outside of that perforation hole. It acts against the stresses of that formation. It's similar to me trying to open a heavy door. I'm reaching in the crack and pulling a door open. That's how it works. Hydraulic fracturing and the fracture does not propagate because the fluid hits and creates a crack. It acts by getting into the formation, getting a foothold, and pulling the formation apart. Now, what's going to yield is the least stress pushing against the pressure of the fluid. That's going to be the minimum horizontal stress. Now, it works that way because the formation has to compress. As that fracture propagates, the formation has to compress more and more and more. It's not going to compress against its highest stress. It's going to compress against its least stress, which is the minimum horizontal stress. So the fracture always propagates against perpendicular to the minimum horizontal stress. This is important, and this knowledge is important for drilling horizontal wells, because you know which way a fracture is going to propagate. You want to drill the well in the opposite way of the direction of propagation of your fractures. That way you can get more effective fractures down your horizontal well than you would have if you drilled it parallel to the minimum horizontal stress. Perpendicular to the minimum horizontal stress. If you did that, you would get one long fracture that's stacked up concurrently with all the others. So by understanding rock mechanics and understanding how a fracture propagates, we can continue to improve hydraulic fracturing, hopefully increase the production of a well while decreasing the cost of that well, passing those savings on to the consumer. Thank you for watching.